And here we go for the 2025 season, and we are happy to be back with you for Friday Night Drive as we go through all the scores and highlights as they come in. I'm Matt Rodewald. Glad you're with us as we begin another year. And Steve Soucie is the greatest person in terms of football 24/7, 365 days a year when it comes to high school stuff. You never take a break, and now you can't for the next 4 months or so because here we go. The season's here.
And that's just the way I like it, Matt. So, here we are, and I'm sitting here as we talk to you. I've got 6 games up on the screen right above my head here. So if you see me peeking up a little bit, that's what I'm looking at. So, and I mean, just as you were talking there, I was kind of listening to you, and I was also watching Batavia running a 60-yard touchdown.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's That was an interesting situation right there. So those of you that don't know, obviously Glenbard West leads now 28-27, point pending here with 2:52 left in the fourth quarter. It looks like they're thinking about maybe going for 2 here.
Yeah, that's something that Piran will do, but I think the kicker is out there, and now they're talking about it. So I wonder if this is where you use. They've got 3 timeouts to do, so they're gonna do that. So while they're trying to figure things out, let's reset what we do every single week. So you can get a peek at that. So you'll see Soucie. He'll be peering off the screen sometimes. He'll be in that position, and what he's doing, he's got. What do you have? 6 or 7 games going at once, at least, or something like that.
I've got 6 right above the screen we're looking at. Yep.
So, right, he's watching 6 games,
good.
So you don't have to. And so what we're going to do is go through. They give the extra point. Batavia and Glenbard West in a barn burner. Glenbard West will get the ball back momentarily here. And so what you'll see is the crawl on the bottom of the screen. Those are the finals that come in. We're going to show you some highlights here momentarily. We've got all of our Shaw local reporters who are out and about at games. One of my favorites to start the season is DeKalb Sycamore. You want to see what happened out there. I did a little traveling today, so I'm a little out of the loop in terms of what's been going on, just as much as, say, anybody else is. So this is going to be fun. We're going to try and figure this out together as we flow through the entire week 1 scene. And at the same time, Soucie, you and I are going to kind of reset the table on what is the storylines and the things to note as we go into the 2025 season. So we saw that extra point. It's good. Batavia wearing the all reds. They got that brand new scoreboard there, and it's dancing. The lights dance now in that building. They do a nice job at Bulldog Stadium. That was where I was going to go tonight. I had to do some traveling with my family, so I'm not even in Illinois at the moment. But what we're going to do is go through all these scores, and if you have scores, if you have things that you noticed, observations about certain games that you saw, whether you're a fan, whether you're a parent, whether you're a coach that wants to get in on the mix with us, we want to see you jump in the chat here on YouTube, or at least hit us up on social media. Soucie and I are both active on X all the time. Maybe not so much during the show, but we definitely are throughout the week. So if you see some things, I asked some questions today following Matt_Rodewald, where I was like, well, what week 1 game jumps at you the most? For me, it was the one that we're watching right here, because there's a lot of hype with Batavia, but honestly, I'm just not sure, and I do feel like they do need to get a prove-it win. This might be the win they're going to get if they can come back and take the lead and take care of this one, only because of the fact that they were able to do it in a certain fashion. For Glenbard West, they've kind of slipped off the radar in terms of the West Suburban, in terms of its dominance, as it's started balancing out the last couple of years. And so really a big game for both of these teams as we see Glenbard West take the kickoff pretty good distance here out to about the 35-yard line. What jumps off to you, Soucie, when it comes to the games that you've seen around the state? We had East St. Louis last night. There are plenty of hype games, but there are some other games that we haven't really gotten to in some of the previews and stuff.
Yeah, I've been watching this Glenbard West Batavia game for a little while now, and the thing that has really struck me with Glenbard West is it seems like they're just really quick. Like they have quite a few guys that are just really bringing the quicks, and I didn't really see that from Glenbard West when I saw them last year. So it looks like they maybe got some more explosive athletes that can make some big plays, and that's made this a little bit interesting. What I'm kind of keeping my eye on right now, I was out at the Nazareth-Kankakee game, a really slow-moving game. I only ended up staying for the first quarter. That's
the worst.
Yeah. Nazareth has slowly inched away here from Kankakee, but It has not been the most impressive of games. It just looks like, I'm just looking up here in the top corner, it looks like Lincoln Way East ran back an interception. I believe that game is now 27-0 in favor of Lincoln Way East early in the third quarter. So Lincoln Way East kind of having their way in that one. The one that I've been keeping a real eye on is actually not in the state of Illinois. Loyola right now is trailing Maryville, Indiana, 14-13. The game is under 30 seconds, and Loyola is driving. So a pretty interesting situation for them moving on as we go there. Some of the other things that I'm keeping an eye on right now, fourth quarter here, York is in a tie with Glenbrook South, so that game is back and forth right now. 9:14 left in that game, with York and Glenbrook South tied at 28 apiece. So York, a team that, people had a lot of high expectations for it, and there's no reason to believe that they can't still meet those.
Right.
But off to a little bit of a surprising start here. This is a game that I thought that York would probably have in hand. So struggling with that one. I haven't seen an update in a while, but a really intriguing game tonight that I thought, and I know you had talked about it a little bit earlier on Twitter this week. Wilmington and Morris is looking like a bit of a puncher's fight down there. The last time I saw Morris was up 6 points, but Wilmington had forced the ball away. I just got an update. Wilmington now leads that game. 17, 4 minutes to play in that game. So,
see, and this is
very
the beauty of this show is that we get it literally along with you and get to react at the same time. We're going to go through as many finals as we can. Soucie and you and I had the philosophy, I think this is safe to say, I'll speak for you on this one if you don't mind. I like to get as many schools mentioned as possible. Like, this is the fun part.
Yep.
Even though we are staring at our screens with Batavia and Glenbard West, we like to highlight the teams that, especially, and we did this last year, if you have a long losing streak, we're going to give you an ovation if you break that. And we usually see those on week one. So we're going to keep an eye on those. Yep. The one I had in mind was St. Edward. I'd have no idea what's going on with St. Edward, but that's one where I was like, I think they've lost 18 in a row. Only because I've played on those kinds of teams. It's not fun.
Right.
You forget, you say, I don't want to play football. And then when you win, you're just hoping someone notices. So that's something that's always kind of cool for me. So you see the finals roll on the bottom of the screen. We have plenty of storylines to get to. And again, so if we don't get to all of them, don't worry. Once we hit to 11 o'clock, I may go away, but Soucie is always up after dark, deep into the evening, searing into your soul with high school football scores and trying to figure out the navigation of where the Illinois high school football map is going to take us for the 2025 season. One thing I always bring up when it comes to week one and non-conference play, these games are huge. From a testing standpoint, from a strength of schedule standpoint, some of these teams may not face this kind of competition again for quite some time, maybe even till November. But Soucie, the importance of playoff points from a league standpoint, like we're watching Batavia-Glenbard West right now. Geneva played Larkin tonight. I don't know the score. I presume that they won, but they want Batavia to win this game tonight. Why does that matter so much for, say, Geneva wanting a rival or St. Charles North wanting a rival to win a game like this?
Well, when you're stacking playoff points, you talk about it in a situation. I mean, once we're in the non-conference schedule, especially someone like you're talking about, like a Batavia, a Geneva, this is the only opportunity for them to have a huge playoff point week because, once you get into your conference season, the maximum number of points that you can obtain in a week would be 5 if you win. So this is a week where if all of your opponents on your schedules pick up win, you get 8 or 9. I mean, you can put together a huge week and build that foundation. I mean, everybody wants to get in, obviously, but you want to get in with as many points as you can so you can get that seed situation as you can. So if you play, if your opponents in your schedule are all playing games where they pick up wins, that will get you a long way down the road towards having 45, maybe even 50 playoff points.
Right.
If your opponents can pick up wins this week, because it's the only time where everybody on your schedule can potentially win. When you get into a conference schedule, I mean, only 3 of your opponents are going to win if you won. I mean, on your
Right.
schedule. So that's basically it. Becomes a numbers game really early on, and the best thing that you can do is sit here and watch your non-conference opponents, and see if you can get those wins. And by speaking of big games inside of conference play, one of those lock conferences, Prairie Ridge with a 34
I was
to
just
21
going to ask you about that.
Yep. Yes.
That was the surprising result. To be honest, it's not an upset, but Prairie Ridge, it was more of Cary Grove's crown, in that league. Even though Prairie Ridge has had success, I think you talked about it earlier in the week that maybe Prairie Ridge was kind of that second step behind, just like a step behind them. But
yeah,
they go back and forth. Prairie Ridge now taking the lead, so to speak.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting scheduling situation with this game being in week 1. I can't ever remember it being in week 1 before. It always feels like we have a little bit of
as to why that was that way. But
we have a lot of we usually have a lot of build up to this game. We feel like middle of the season, something like that. And they kind of scrap heads into one another. But it was really kind of a shock to see that was a week 1 scheduled game.
And all of a sudden, Cary Grove's got to be very careful. They go on the road to Central down in Burlington, and that's going to be a hornet's nest for the Rockets' home opener. The Rockets get a shutout win at Crystal Lake South, and you get these 2 games to start. When you're a team like Cary Grove, the way the schedule is shaken out in the past, you get a little bit of a soft start, an easier start. You might have 2 of your 3 best teams in the league in the first 2 weeks of the season, and if you're not careful, you're staring at 0-2. And it's not that they can't rattle off 7 wins, but all of a sudden they look a little different at that schedule in terms of the urgency the rest of the way. And that's something obviously that the folks up there in Fox River Grove and in Cary, realize that they got to be careful with that. And Logan Abrams, obviously, is a guy who had a lot of ink on him coming in this week here too. Probably not the result you want, and plenty to prove going into week number 2 down there in Burlington.
No, definitely. It's one of those interesting situations when you look at a lock conference like that. When you have a premier game right out of the box, it already puts Cary Grove in chase mode. So it's pretty interesting. Switching gears here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was talking about Loyola being in field goal range to potentially win that. They decided, we're going to go for the touchdown. They win that game 21-14 over Maryville. Must have scored that touchdown in the last 10 seconds of the game. So that was really pivotal for Loyola for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they've got a tough Catholic League schedule, staring them in the face later in the season, but they don't have a week 2 game.
Yes.
And it is not a situation where they're going to get a forfeit win. If they would have lost this game, it would have effectively been like they were 0-2 heading into their Catholic League schedule, because they have a no result in week 2. They do not have an opponent. They don't get credit for a forfeit win because they did not have a scheduled game. So it is a no contest for them in week 2. So they will go into week 3 1-0.
What happened there? And obviously, it takes 2 to tango. You need a partner to dance with. But nobody wants to play a Loyola, year in and year out. Were there any opportunities within the state, just in terms of the way these contracts have shaken out, where maybe a class or 2 lower just to get somebody on the schedule? Was that even an option?
It became a situation as the season creeped up. They were actually fairly late in the offseason. They were without a 1 and a 2. They did not get Maryville until
I didn't know that.
Fairly late in the process. They were looking for both of those seasons, and I was thinking that really early on the only option for them was going to be to find out-of-state opponents willing to play them. The reason that Indiana was a fertile situation for Loyola to find a potential opponent is they have open playoffs. So they don't have schools that are worried about, what if we lose this game to Loyola? We're not going to get into playoffs. No. It doesn't work like it does here. So, that was why I thought it would be possible for, for Loyola to get that, to get another game maybe in Indiana. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we
got into
this.
With certain conferences with Indiana in terms of, they have their schedules pretty full, and non-conference isn't as flexible as it is here in Illinois. And most of it is because of the fact that a lot of people, you might get a bye heading into the postseason,
Right.
because of the way that there's traditional state tournament is set up. The other factor from an Indiana standpoint, you and I both know this, maybe our viewers don't, but they start a week earlier. So this is their week 2 in Maryville. And Maryville is a solid program, historically speaking. That stadium is gorgeous. If you've been by there, it's awesome. I've been to a game. I've covered a game there. A 1-2, by the way. It was Warren Central out of Indianapolis coming up to Maryville and playing them. That would be a semifinal game in Illinois, a semi-state game there in terms of their week 1 matchup. That was plenty of years ago, but that's a test to go down there for that atmosphere for Loyola. So good for them to do it. I want to switch back to Batavia-Glenbard West. Does Glenbard West have the ball inside the 10? Did I see this right?
They do. They do. I think they're sitting at
So
about the
what happened?
11-yard line right now.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I looked up and all of a sudden the red zone logo was on their screen there, and I'm like, how did that happen? I missed that entirely.
I think there was a
when we were
turnover
talking. I'm not sure
because
how that happened.
yes, Glenbard West punted the football. Batavia had it. It must have been a turnover, clearly, at this point.
Yeah.
Glenbard West still has 2 timeouts, so they're just running the ball into the field they want, and they've got it center midfield at the 7-yard line. They're letting it run down. This is 3rd down coming up, which means they're going to try and kick the extra point-ish field goal for the win here. Let's see if if Hedlett runs it down to I like to run it to 4. He might run it to 3 because of how close they are. He's going to run it to 2, so they ran it to 2. My worry about running it to 2 is that if you have a bad snap here, you can't get down and call a timeout.
Yeah.
So 2 seconds left at Batavia, and they're kicking into the north. So I don't know how the wind is down there right now, but they're kicking to the north end at Batavia, and it's going to be a straight-on kick. This is a chip shot. Again, you never know how these go, but this looks like this is Glenbard West that could escape with a win here in a really, really tough loss for Batavia, who had a lot of expectations. They got a lot of ink this week for playing up 7A, saying that, we want to stay in 7A. And, it's not exactly a unanimous thing in that community that they're in 7A. So it's fascinating to see that this is the first week, how that comes out. Maybe the timing of it might not have been great, but let's see if we can watch this kick here. You might be ahead of me in terms of watching.
Batavia just took their last time out there, so they snapped the ball and took that timeout. So timeout from Batavia. Smart. That was their last one, I believe. So they're going to reline that right
marching
back
down there. Mm-hmm. So
not to count the chickens before they're hatched here, but this is a pretty pivotal win for Glenbard West for a lot of reasons. I mean, it felt like last year they had that 0-2 non-conference start before they went into a very difficult league play. They started with Batavia, that lost, followed that with a loss to Loyola. Once again, very difficult non-conference schedule for Glenbard West. After this one, they bring Joliet Catholic to Dushan next week for week 2. So it's really a really important situation for Glenbard West to get this win here. Sets them up nicely. A lot better than already in a lot better position than they were last year when they were chasing all year long, trying to get to that 5th win, and they ended up not doing it. So here we go on the field goal attempt.
All right. So as you're watching that, you'll tell us how it turns out. Just want to reset everything. You're watching the Friday Night Drive stream. We're 20 minutes into this. We've been focusing on this one game just because of how tight it is, and that happens all the time. I think last year we had 3 or 4 of them going down and at the same time here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run our highlights. We're going to start checking in with some of our reporters. We're going to start bouncing around a little bit. So stay with us here as we try and sort things out here. And do they have a clock set up, or they have the play clock setup issue that they were dealing with? Unless they still have a timeout to use. I'm not quite sure. Soucie, what are you seeing over there when you're looking at this?
Yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of standing around here. I'm not sure what's going on, but
I'm wondering if the play clock is an issue. There something with the game clock or play clock, one of the two. Let's see here. So the officials are kind of looking at the press box like, "Hey, we asked you to do something." Now we're staring at the scoreboard to see. The problem with these new scoreboards, which as much as I love them in person, they are horrible for streaming on
field
screen.
goal is good.
All right, so
that field goal is good, Matt.
Game over?
Yep, that's a Glenbard West win.
gets the win 31-28 on the road at Batavia. That is the second of a 2-year contract. I'm curious to see if they will play next year. That would be the first Saturday if they assume they keep going.
I already know the answer to that. That
you answer that for me, will you?
Yeah, that contract is not being continued. So Batavia is going to. I know Batavia's non-conference schedule, and it does not include Glenbard West next year.
Do you want to share who that might be, or is that too soon for that?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I just know that Glenbard West is not on it.
Okay, very good. That's all right.
I know Rochester is. That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
We'll spend some time. Maybe we get deeper into the night. We can do that. He's Steve Soucie.
Yep.
I'm Matt Rodewald. Before we get to our commercial break, let's check the highlights. Some of the highlights that some of our staff has put together for Week 1 across the state of Illinois.
So a bad snap on a punt by Sycamore puts the ball first and goal at the 1. Obviously, the punter did a really good job of just getting out of the end zone with the ball. But first and goal at the 1, almost certainly going to see more here. And it's a touchdown. We'll see who gets out of the stack. Touchdown, 66 on the carry. Owen Sisson, I believe that is. I'm going to go ahead and say that's his first career touchdown.
7 gets it, rolls to the left after faking, throws it, it is caught, 25, 30.
Marquis with the 3-yard touchdown for the Bruins at 11:31 second quarter.
All right, so those are the highlights. Thanks to our staff for putting that together. What jumps out at you when you're looking at those highlights for tonight, other than Eddie Carifio's amazing play-by-play?
Obviously, there's just a lot of stuff going on tonight. I mean, there seems to be some very big plays being accumulated by people. Right now, actually, my attention was a little bit diverted because I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on in this St. Charles North Minooka game. I'm trying to figure out if this is a 2-point conversion attempt or a touchdown attempt. Minooka currently is leading this game 35-34, and St. Charles North has the ball. Looks like it's lined up for a potential conversion, but I'm not sure. It might be for a touchdown as well. But I think it's a conversion because it wouldn't make sense for them to not be kicking a field goal because it says it's 4th and 9 on the screen. So I'm trying to get my handle on exactly what's going on here. But they just called a timeout, so I don't have an answer yet. But
I don't have.
Minooka was comfortably leading this game. Yeah, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. But another one while that was going on that I got the information on, Morris scored with 16 seconds left in that game to defeat Wilmington 27-20. So.
Wow.
Wilmington scored with about 3 minutes left in the game, but Morris marched the entire length of the field, scoring with 16 seconds left. So now we're lining back up again here at Minooka.
I'm watching it with you here, and St. Charles North going into the 4th, and maybe that was maybe this is the conversion, and that is.
I'm thinking this is the conversion.
I think that's the 2-point conversion. There was an end around to the left side, the keeper for the quarterback. And a touchdown, a 2-point conversion. That's the play-by-play
St. Charles North got
nightmare,
in.
By the way.
They got in. St. Charles North got in.
That was just a straight.
That was a
pitch,
2-point conversion. It was a
Yep.
two. Yeah, it was a sweep with the quarterback. It looks like.
Okay, and I
Yep.
don't have the roster in front of me, but whoever number 4 is for St. Charles North threw one heck of a block, a lead block
Yep.
on that
Yes,
end
he
around.
did.
So when you watch that highlight, or if you go back and look at that, wow, that was really nice. And I'll tell you what, I had an intern this summer, Dylan Tassoni. He is on the St. Charles North staff, on the St. Charles North team. He is a senior,
Yeah.
and he's a defensive player, and he sort of was like, I don't know where Manuka is, and that sort of thing. And I said, that is a tough place to play. I can't wait to hear from him to see how this went tonight. I had told him, I said, that's not a treat to go down there and play well. So this is a big win for St. Charles North. We could talk about that conference all day because I know a lot of that, but I want to make sure that we get to as many finals as we can. You keep an eye on this one in case something crazy happens. Let me start running down some of the final scores from around the state. We have
Can I throw in a fun one real quick here for you?
Yes, please.
Can I throw in a fun one?
Jump in anytime.
Our friends from Joliet Central have started off the season with a victory. 27 to 25 or 27 to 26 over Thornridge. So Joliet Central starting off the season with a win for, I have no idea how long that has been. So
I don't know.
Nice win for Tom Hart and their squad.
Let's see if we can figure that out for Monday. How about that? And if you're a Joliet
Okay.
Central fan, let us know. But that's something I want for Monday.
Yep.
I did see that was a 6-0 game at one point. I'm like, I don't remember the last time Joliet Central started the year with an undefeated mark at 1-0. Hey, everyone's trying to go 1-0, and for once, Joliet Central actually is. So good for you guys. That's awesome. We love that kind of stuff here on the Friday Night Drive podcast and the live stream. I'm going to go downstate real quick, and if you hear a score that jumps out at you, please stop me and tell me the significance in your mind here, because we're just getting used to these teams. Bloomington with a win over Danville. Again, that's one of those conferences where it's kind of closed. Clifton Central, the Comets, 34-13 over Bismarck Henning. That kind of surprised me a little bit. I'll just start there. You know that area.
That's a really nice win. I mean, I think coming into the season, the consensus was Bismarck was probably the favorite in the Vermilion Valley Conference. Yep. Central's a very interesting team. Their enrollment's been shrinking. They've got a small roster, but what they have on that roster is talented. So if they can stay healthy, I think they're a really dangerous potential team in that 1A draw, because that's where they're at now.
That's right.
So Central for years has been a 2A team. They're a 1A team now, and they have some talented players. So it should be if they were able to handle Bismarck in that fashion, that's a really good sign for Clifton Central.
And at some point, we'll get through the class. It's going to be a theme all year, trying to figure out who's in what class and who shuffled where, and we'll break down some of the particulars. And I bet we're going to get to that on Monday, as you've gotten to it a lot, but I have a lot of questions myself too with that sort of thing as well. St. Teresa 29-7 over Urbana tonight. That's on the road. Dwight got a forfeit win. EPG El Paso Gridley over Reed Custer 28-14. Farmington rolls up Hamilton 51-28. Gibson City a winner over Tremont. I've got to say all 4 cities. That's the rule. Gibson City, Melvin, and Sibley. If you don't do all 4, everybody's offended. GCMS. I love you guys down there. Normal Community, a 40-6 win over Peoria Richwoods. Riverton over Pittsfield, 29-20. SJO, we expected things from them this year, 44-7 over Prairie Central. That's a good start for them. Those two don't always get along, and have them with week 1 is fascinating. Sullivan over Arcola, 61-6. We see the commenter from Grant as Marengo with a big statement win. Going to Stillman Valley and getting a win 42-7. It's not easy to go out there, but Marengo is one of those teams where you're just trying to figure things out with them from time to time. That's a good start for the Indians.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you look at that situation, and I was looking. I look at those big northern teams now, because now they have to step out of the league for one game and that becomes pretty pivotal whether or not they can get that win, because right in the middle of that conference has been kind of a cluster where it's tough to break out of. So if you don't win that non-conference game, and Stillman hasn't, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill climb, because you got to deal with Byron. You still got to deal with a good Dixon program. Yep. And then you've got to deal with that middle group that these teams are all in. And now if you've lost that non-conference game, you almost got to sweep that group in the middle, or you're not going to get to 5 wins. So it's hard to talk about that after the first week, but that that could end up being a pivotal result for Stillman in their quest to make the playoffs.
All right, Souce, we're going to get to more finals, and we're going to get to some highlights and some recaps as well from the folks that are around for our Shaw local folks that have been at games tonight. We have a look in from Bradley Bourbonnais, which I'm curious about, and also Chicago Christian and Seneca. That's a fascinating week one matchup. We're going to break that down in a moment here. All that when we return here on the Friday Night Drive podcast, week one here of the IHSA football season.
SGKR Injury Attorneys tackles the toughest cases. I'm Matt Rundio. When life throws a flag, we go on offense to protect your rights. Don't get sidelined. Score a touchdown with SGKR. Visit us at sgkr.law.
I'm State Representative Steve Reich. Since 2017, I've led the fight to reform our child welfare system and supported educational choice for every kid in Illinois. I've worked to stop the collapse of our public pensions while standing up for businesses that are being crushed by crippling mandates. And I've never forgotten who pays the bill. The work isn't finished, and as I run for re-election, I'm asking for your support. I'm Steve Reich, and I approve this message.
At Oliver's, we are proud to serve our community. We serve up great customer service, quality products, ease of shopping, and we serve up delicious barbecued sandwiches at our fundraiser cookouts. So stop by Oliver's, 748 North Brenton and Dixon, and help fund our local clubs and events.
And we are back here on the Friday Night Drive live stream podcast as we're watching games go right down to the wire, right to the end here as we've reached the 10 o'clock hour. Matt Rodewald, Steve Soucie with you here, back for year number 2 for the two of us. Souce, how long have you been doing this podcast? You know, I know there was some great talent. Jake Barlson was doing this show before I jumped aboard. You guys have been doing this a long time on Friday nights. How much fun is it, just our Friday night mess of games?
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's just it's something that when we first started, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm really ready to get off the sidelines on Friday night, but I've gotten to the point now where it's something that I really enjoy because, you know, when I'm out on the sidelines, I only get to watch one game and then I'm scrolling through Twitter. This gives me the opportunity to watch like 10 if I can set it up right. So,
yep.
And I'm an information hound. I want to know as much as I possibly can, and this kind of gives me an opportunity to get a much better look while it's happening at so many different things. It's almost too many things, but
yes,
it's definitely it's one thing on top of the other. So looks like St. Rita and Marist are going down to the wire, by the way. They're currently tied at 21 with about 6 minutes left to play in that one.
I just watched the end of the St. Charles North game. I don't know if you saw the final desperate play from Minooka. They threw it over 2 St. Charles North safeties' heads, and it landed on the helmet of a Minooka player who didn't see it. Had he seen it, he would have caught it and walked in from 10 yards out. It was that close. Yeah. And that's how high school football goes. It can be just that close to being just chaos. And it did not happen. So St. Charles North escapes with a win there. That is a playoff point swing. We talked about that earlier with Batavia losing, and now St. Charles North getting a win. So, you know, the folks, folks like Yorkville, Oswego, who's at Naperville Central, really needed that point tonight from Minooka. Didn't happen for sure. So we got a lot of finals to go through for sure. We got a lot of highlights that we want to, or a lot of recaps, so we can get into those and kind of check in with things. Quincy loses tonight at Boonville down there in Missouri. So they had a big, long win streak in the regular season. That is done with as well. 21 games that Quincy has won? They've now lost 2
regular season games,
Yes, regular season games. And the last 2 games not been good because St. Rita smoked them pretty good in the quarterfinals. And now they kind of get stumble out of the gate here on the road over at Boonville. I don't know how long of a drive that is. Obviously, Quincy being right next door to Missouri. Is that do you know that off the top of your head by any chance?
I'm not exactly sure where that's at either. So, yeah, that's okay. I'm not sure how far of a haul that is for them.
we're getting a laundry list of things that we need to know for Monday for our show. So that may be on that list as well. All right, let's do some recap, shall we? And let's start with Bradley Bourbonnais. Bradley Bourbonnais tonight, and as they started their season, they're kind of one of those, they could be in the mix to challenge for a conference title. Things have to kind of go their way, and let's see if they get that right as we check in with Adam Tunio at Bradley Bourbonnais this evening.
Adam Tamino from Bradley Bourbonnais High School, where the Boilermakers just beat TF North 42-0 to pick up a season opening win. Senior quarterback Alex Johnson making his first career start today. Threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 1 more to lead the way. Kyron Edmond with 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Isaac Allison picking up another. Johnson's 2 passing touchdowns, first one to Calvin Cole, second one to Lizelle Edmond to get things underway on the season here. Starting defense, just 2 first downs allowed in 3 quarters played, sitting the 4th with a running clock. Solid start to the season. They'll be back out here a week from today playing Crete-Moni, looking to keep things rolling.
Our thanks to Adam, and it's to Nino. I always stumble over names the first week of the season. Soucie, the one thing I heard there, other than it was a blowout, but I like hearing, if you're a coach, you like hearing this too. 2 first downs allowed in the first 3 quarters. I don't care who you're playing. And in terms of the disparity, that's great. That's a good start for that Boiler defense.
Yeah, that's got to be a good sign for them because, coming into the season, the talk about Bradley Bourbonnais is all the skill players that they have at their disposal, that the offense was probably going to be pretty good. And then to have the defense bring it as well, a really good sign for Bradley moving forward. I think this is a sneaky Bradley Bourbonnais team. I don't think enough people are talking about them in regards to what they may be able to do. This is a really good team, and like I said, really deep at the skill position. You can't key on a guy because they got like 3 or 4 dudes that can break a play at almost any point in time. So a real nice start for Bradley over a TF North program that has established itself as being a pretty solid program over the last couple of years. So a nice start for them.
Yep, I agree with you on both counts there. Let's check in with Seneca and Chicago Christian. Chicago Christian's one of those teams that, caught everyone's attention, and not for the reasons anyone wanted, is because all of a sudden, here they are winning a state championship, and people are like, wait, private school, what are they? And what happens to them is going to be very different, I think, than what happens to, say, the DePaul Preps and the Mount Carmels and Loyolas of the world. So, and Seneca's one of those teams that, man, when they get rolling, I'm waiting for them to do some serious damage in November, and we haven't seen it just quite yet. Seneca and Chicago Christian. Brian Hoxie was there.
Hi, Brian Hoxie here from Seneca for Friday Night Drive, Shaw Media. Seneca defeated Chicago Christian 47-6 tonight. It was 8-0 after the first quarter, Seneca, and they scored 32 points in the second quarter to make it 40-0 at halftime. Seneca had over 350 yards rushing.
Okay, there it is. It's a quick recap there. We'll obviously either fix that again or we're going to get more on that as we go forward. So apologies for that. 47-6 caught my attention. What do you think?
Yeah, when I was looking at this game before the season, you're looking at that and you're thinking, well, I know Chicago Christian lost almost everything from that state championship team.
Yep.
And low-key Seneca has been building something there. It seems like every year this is the kind of team they're putting together a pretty strong regular season. So I thought that this was a really intriguing game to start the year with. Could Seneca match up with the Chicago Christian team? And they certainly could. They showed that. And, I thought this was a game that Seneca could win. I'm surprised they won it in as dominating fashion as they did.
So Seneca and the Irish, they moved to 1-0 on the year. Chicago Christian could be a very long march to the end of the season for them. It depends on how things turn out in conference play for them as well. Going to move on in the recaps here. Want to keep everybody in the loop here. Let's start with let's go to Marion Central and Richmond Burton. I love this matchup each and every year because of the regional element of it right along the state line. The Hurricanes and the Rockets doing damage. Josh Welge, was he up there for that one? That's a long shot for him. Let's see.
I think that's Alex Kantecki on that one tonight.
That's Alex is there. See, that makes much more sense. I had it wrong. Let's check in with Alex with the RB Marion.
Alex Kantecki here from Friday Night Drive. we got a week 1 final. Richmond Burton 49, Marion Central 13. All Rockets here today who ran for over 400 yards on the ground. The big star was junior running back Hunter Carley. He ran for a 66-yard touchdown on the second play from scrimmage. He ended up with 211 yards rushing on only 12 carries and scored 5 touchdowns. Again, week 1 final, Richmond Burton 49, Marion Central 13.
Boy, we got to work on some lighting with our guys too. it's just kind of like a mood that he was setting there from. I didn't know Richmond was so sultry in the late August days, but there you go. Let's move on here as we check in. See, Josh's a trip to Oswego, Naperville Central makes a little more sense considering where he is with Kendall County Record and Company. Let's check in with Josh down in Naperville Central and Oswego and the Panthers.
This is Josh Rodewald from Friday Night Drive, where the final score here at Naperville Central is Oswego 31, Naperville Central 15. A little bit really not indicative of the way this game went. Oswego actually led 28-0 at the half. Oswego junior quarterback Drew Kleinhans, very impressive in his first varsity start. He threw touchdown passes to Teddy Manicus and Mariano Velasco, and he also ran for a touchdown that was set up by a long pass to Manicus. Decker Valenzig, Oswego running back, also had an 85-yard touchdown run that capped off 28-0 first half, in which they held Naperville Central only 40 yards of total offense. Naperville Central, after their starting quarterback went out with an injury in the fourth quarter, backup Jackson Loth came off the bench to lead 2 touchdown drives in the last 5 minutes of the game. So very impressive. But the final score here, Oswego 31, Naperville Central 15.
All right, so Oswego gets the win there. I wondered if Naperville Central was going to drop back. I want your thoughts on that in just a second. But first, Jonas Williams, another touchdown. Lincoln Way East rolling up Maine South in that one. And also, I had one more thought for you if I can remember. Oh, yeah, Glenbrook, they're storming the field, you say. What's going on up there?
Yeah, it looks like they Glenbrook South and York went into overtime. Glenbrook South got the ball first, scored a touchdown, then got the defensive stop, and I looked up, and students were storming the field, and so I assumed that they must have gotten the stop there because obviously Glenbrook, it's been 5 minutes since that happened, and they're still running around and celebrating. So, yeah, so it's basically, it's been a pretty surprising night for, some top 10 teams tonight. We've got York with a loss. We've got Batavia with a loss. East St. Louis losing the other night. Now, granted, that was to a national powerhouse, but
sure, yeah.
It's I mean, a lot of teams that were in the consensus preseason top 10 have already fallen. So, some of them have answered the bell. Obviously, Lincoln Way East with a dominating performance so far. But for the most part, it's been, there have been some very, very interesting results that are going to require a little bit more introspection after we get done with tonight.
Glenbrook South was one of those teams that made 4 and 5 and made the postseason, I think 1 or 2 times. So they've been kind of knocking on the door of being like a competitive team. All of a sudden, Maine South, Glenbrook South has some juice to it because of a potential changing of the guard if this holds up getting to that game. I don't have it on my schedule just yet, but I'm certainly circling it now to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Oswego for a second. I think that's a big win for them. I just wonder what your take on the Panthers and just trying to sustain the longevity of that program. We had such a good defense last year, and all of a sudden Geneva and Oswego looks like a banger next week.
Well, I was looking at this game. This was one of the games that I thought on the schedule amongst, top 25 or top 25 adjacent teams was the most confusing to me. I didn't really know what I was going to get out of this game. I didn't really know what Naperville Central was going to be heading into the season in regards to what they had back. I wasn't sure what their, mixture was going to be. Oswego, I had a lot of concerns, to be completely honest with you. A lot of that defense gone, especially all pieces of that exceptional linebacking core not back. So I'm like, I didn't really know what to expect. I thought this was a game, honestly, that that I thought probably Naperville Central would win it. Oswego controlled it early on, and that was, they were pretty dominant in that. That's I don't think that game was as close as that final score indicated. So, Definitely an interesting result right there. That was one that kind of I don't want to say it threw me, but it surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it perked you up a little bit, when you see it, especially in the way that it went down. So, and good for I've always liked what they're doing down there at Oswego. They always have that defensive pedigree, but there's some athletes both in the district when it comes to East and Oswego, and you just wonder one of these teams is going to really, really break through and hold on to that consistency to be a real good football power. We know Oswego's history has been there, but it's never been sustained at the semifinal state, the semifinal level, like a Glenbard West, like a team like the old Wheaton Souths and then the old Naperville Central and Norths of that era of, say, the 90s and 2000s. Oswego's always felt like in that second tier, but now they have the enrollment to compete at that level and the consistency both with Oswego and Oswego East. You just wonder if we're about to see the golden era of Oswego 308 football really across the district. Let me switch gears real quick, and then I want to go through some more finals if we can, because it's a good time to point out Jonas Williams is a really good quarterback. How good is this kid? I know we're going to see records broken, but you've seen him now for a couple of years. Where do you kind of rank him? What do you when you watch him play? What do you see when you see him?
Well, the thing that really, it's the whole package. That's the thing. It's not only the athletic gifts. He's a very cerebral quarterback as well. You can give him something and give him complicated reads, and more often than not, he's going to find where that football should go. He's been in a situation where he's had a lot of really quality wide receivers at his disposal to utilize as well. I mean, he got a couple in the transfer situation this year added to this roster. And both of them have scored at least one touchdown tonight that I'm aware of. But that's the thing about him, is that he seems to know where that football should go, and he keeps his head. If you talk to him after he just threw 5 touchdowns or maybe had a less than his standard game, there's really not a lot of difference in the way that he reacts to it. He's an even-keeled person. He knows he's very talented, but he is about as humble as you're going to get. It's one of those things where, I don't often say this, but I think I will be very surprised that if 5 or 6 years down the line from now that we do not see him playing on Sundays. That's how strongly I feel about it. And I usually won't say that about high school athletes just because you don't know. A lot of things can happen. But, I mean, he's got everything you want your quarterback to have in his toolkit. He has it in that toolkit.
And just as we're talking, another touchdown pass, extra point, no good. It's 40-0 against Maine South. I did not expect that tonight. They're a running clock in Park Ridge, mid-fourth quarter there. So a stunning effort. And maybe you have to rethink the pecking order in 8A as we go. Maybe not yet, but as we get closer to saying maybe it's a 2-horse race of a Mount Carmel Lincoln Way East in that class. I want to see if we can put the Herscher comment up there, and I want you to look at that. I'm going to read a couple of scores though, so you can see that as well. It was we had, just as we look downstate, Tuscola getting over Shelbyville 16-14. Williamsville a winner to the Bullets 42-7 over Auburn on the road. Vandalia a winner on the road at Carlinville 51-33. Victoria, the Lions a shutout win 42-0 at Champaign Centennial. The Central A&M out of Moequa over Clinton 42-6. Breeze Central at Effingham. That's a long trip, by the way. 42-7 as they cross the state there. And Pana a 46-27 win at Hillsboro. Look at that Herscher score and the wildness of that one. Herscher down 24-0. Is that down in Canton or is that up at Herscher?
It was down in Canton. I heard the score early on. I heard they were down 24-0. And to be honest with you, I was really surprised by that because I kind of liked Herscher a little bit as a sleeper here. So I'm like, what is going on? It looks like they obviously caught the wind in their sails in the second half there, exploding for 4 touchdowns there to kind of get back into that game and win it. Interesting game on the calendar next week, a restored rivalry. They host Bishop McNamara in week 2. So this was a pretty pivotal game for Herscher to figure out a way to get that win, because if they go into a tough Illinois Central 8 conference schedule where they're kind of looking like they're in the middle of the pack, if they don't get that win against Mac next week, at least you're okay at 1-1.
Yeah.
If you're 0-2 potentially after losing that game, then it's a problem. So, yeah.
I got a Hayworth Hornets final over Williamsburg. Latham. It was a 24-0 win for the Hornets in that one. Geneva rolled over Larkin 56-0. They covered the spread in my eyes. We don't have a score from Johnsburg just yet. I'm looking for it as we speak. Let me ask you about Bishop Mac, since you brought it up. It was a long way down for them for a couple of years with after everything that went down with the coaching change after a legend decides to stop. Have they turned it up a little bit here? It feels that way with Bishop Mac, just from the outside looking in.
I saw them a little bit this summer, and the first thing that stood out to me was they looked like, physically, they looked a lot different than last year's version of Bishop McNamara. A lot bigger. They added some transfers at the skill positions. They looked faster. I'm going to go over and sneak a peek at them tomorrow because it's close to my house. Lawrenceville is coming all the way up to Bishop McNamara for a week 1 game. So that's I'm going to go over there. Yeah, so I'm going to go over there and take a peek at them tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, so I think this is a situation now where maybe they're at least in the conversation for making a run at that Chicagoland Christian Conference title, especially after what we saw tonight. Chicago Christian struggling a little bit, so maybe they're coming back to the pack a little bit. Hope Academy, I'm not really sure what to expect from them. They've got an interesting game tomorrow. They're actually out in New Jersey. They're playing Patterson High School, the high school that was actually based on the movie Lean on Me was based on.
Story, yes.
So that's an interesting situation. So that's where they're going in week 1. Don't know what to expect from them. Aurora Christian had a solid outing tonight against Ottawa Marquette. Last I saw, I believe they had 43 points on the board. So maybe Aurora Christian's tapering back up. So it looks like maybe that league might be a little wide open, and I think Bishop McNamara hopes that they're in that mix.
Got some scores up north to go through. First, as you mentioned, Providence Catholic 49-14 over Wheaton Academy. How about Wakanda getting a win over Hinsdale South? I mean, Hinsdale South's not Hinsdale Central, but Wakanda, a 44-26 win. Wakanda might be okay this year. Warren over Hersey, that was tight for a while. The Blue Devils pull away a 43-28 final. Grant over Mundelein 42-13. Glenbard North 38-3. So if you're Batavia, you breathe a sigh of relief from a playoff point standpoint. Make sure that they take care of business. How about Frem? 35-3 over Lake Zurich. I expected the win. I didn't expect them to hold Lake Zurich to 3 points. So that defense is in good shape. And we've talked a lot about the Frem offense for the last couple of years. The defense might be decent too.
Yeah, I really like that Frem team. It was one of those things when I was putting together some preseason rankings. I talked myself out of moving them a little bit higher. I wish I hadn't done that now in retrospect. I think I had them at about 14, but it was just, I really like just kind of the makeup of that team. And if the defense can deliver that kind of effort and couple it with the offense potential that team has, that's I think that's going to be a team we're going to be talking a lot about this fall.
Barrington 48-20 over South Elgin. Aurora Christian, as you mentioned, 43-22, the final in that one over Marquette. Wheaton Warrenville South 57-0 over former conference rival Glenbard South. I'm just happy that they're playing the Route 56, the Butterfield Road rivalry, but 57-0 means that might be a quick 2-year contract and out in that terms of that series. McHenry.
Matt, real quick, I got one for you here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got one real quick. St. Rita has just punched in a touchdown with 13 seconds to play in the game. They lead Marist 28-21.
All right, so St. Rita trying to pull off the win there, and Marist trying to, obviously, you had mentioned earlier in the week, neither one of those teams really wanted to play each other, but here they are, and you want to escape with a win for sure in St. Rita, and on the right side of things at the moment. Staying up north real quick, as I mentioned, McHenry a winner over Dundee Crown. Huntley 42-0 over Crystal Lake Central. We mentioned Prairie Ridge. I want to dig into that in a little bit. 34-21 over Cary Grove. Lockport a shutout over Plainfield North, and those are some of the finals that I have from way up north. Looking down south, Tri-Valley 52-12 over Fieldcrest. Fieldcrest just hasn't been the same since Derek Schneemann left a couple years ago. Pleasant Plains a 26-20 win over the New Berlin Pretzels, and Arthur Lovington 43-13 over Sangamon Valley. How about U-High out of Normal over Peoria Manual? They dropped 71 on the board, 71-22, the final in that one. Anything downstate that's jumped out at you just yet as you've looked around? How about SHG got blown out by Christian Brothers tonight, 63-20?
Yeah, that's one of the better programs in Missouri, and not to say bad things about Sacred Heart Griffin, this isn't quite the Sacred Heart Griffin program that we expect. Like a decade ago or even 5 years ago, they're not quite at that level. So the combination of playing a really good team out of Missouri to open the season, I'm not surprised that Sacred Heart Griffin lost that game. I'm a little surprised that they got beat up that badly.
That was kind of what I was alluding to. 63-20 is a bit of a surprise. Mount Zion, a shutout win over Limestone, 49-0. Greenville over North Mac, 35-7. Just kind of flying around downstate and seeing anything that jumps out. Coal City over Pontiac, 40-13. Dixon, a winner over Rockford Lutheran as we move up to the northwest area. Let's see, Ottawa over Plano, 35-6. Pecatonica, 56-16. They're one of those teams where I'm like, I just want to see if they'll be able to compete with Lena Winslow this year. Rochelle, 41-14 over Geneseo. That's a fun one, a throwback one for sure. I didn't expect to blow out Geneseo, but it shows that they have some talent coming back from a team that got 10 wins last year.
Yeah, definitely. Here's another final of note this evening. Lions with a 24-14 win over Joliet Catholic. So
okay, we were wondering about that one too.
Situation. Yes.
Yeah. So the teams that went to the state finals last year, kind of an iffy start across the board, so to speak. Those that appeared in the state finals, Batavia and Joliet Catholic, both losing tonight to start things off. How about we had Sycamore and DeKalb to talk about here. I know Eddie Carifio, we showed the highlight, was there before. The final score, and I'm telling you, this game is always a good one. Sycamore with a 22-21 win over the Barbs. That game every year, week one, played at NIU. I'm guessing 15,000 were there tonight. I'm not kidding. People show up for this game. Let's get the recap as we check in with Eddie out there in.
Final from Husky Stadium in DeKalb. Sycamore defeats DeKalb in the FNBO Challenge, 22-21. Amazing game. Second year in a row, this is a thriller down to the wire. Really weird second half. We saw the first half highlights. You can seek that video out on our YouTube channel at Shaw Media or DC Prep's Twitter. But amazing second half. Third quarter, DeKalb was down. They take control of the game, take a lead going into the fourth at 21-15. They do it behind forcing a couple of turnovers in that half. They got a huge fumble recovery. Actually, ball popped right into Devon Grant's hands after a long run by, I believe it was Cooper Bodie. A 12-yard run, but someone punched the ball out, landed right into Grant's hands. They end up scoring after that play to take the lead, I believe, at that point. Travis Moore made an amazing defensive lineman. Travis Moore made an amazing one-handed interception. They don't score on that drive. They did miss the field goal from the 9. I think it was 4th and goal from the 9. They missed the field goal. So that field goal miss obviously did maybe prove a little big, but the biggest thing obviously in that fourth quarter, Sycamore recovers, gets the touchdown early in the fourth. They then force a DeKalb punt from about midfield. Coach Derek Schneemann said he was thinking about going for it on 4th and 10, elected against it, punted it, which there's 8 minutes left at that point in the game. 8 minutes, I think it was 13 seconds maybe, about the 8.5 minutes in that range. Sycamore ate up the clock rest of the way. 80, they didn't quite get to the end zone. Drive ended at about the 15 or so when the time finally ran out. They picked up a 4th and 2 at midfield. There's no hero ball on that one. Kevin Lee, the running back, had a lot of runs. I think he cracked cracked 100 yards. Caden Ralph came in second half, ran for somewhere in the 60-yard neighborhood. He's the one that scored the go-ahead touchdown early in the fourth. So just all the flashy plays for DeKalb in the third, the grinded out, typical Sycamore fourth quarter, 8 minutes again, 8:13 I think off the clock. So that's the final from this one. Sycamore defeats DeKalb 22-21. Thanks, guys.
That's sicko stuff right there from Eddie Carifio. 8.5 minute drive to eat up the clock. I mean, as someone who's coached with Derek Schneeman, I will tell you that it's a no-brainer to just punt it and trust your defense. What are you going to do? Joe Ryan's team is that's team of destiny type stuff right there. He's a coach that's going to be retiring after this year. I don't know what Sycamore has in terms of talent. I just assume they're good because they are every single year. How good are they in a 5A that's now loaded with Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge? I have no idea, but you get a win like that to start things off. That's team of destiny stuff right there.
Yeah, it's one of those series that's just kind of evolved into an interesting battle that kind of comes down to the wire over the last couple of years. Last year's was a wild one, if I remember correctly. And then, it obviously wasn't a great season for DeKalb after that game, but these two just tend to get into interesting scraps. It hasn't gone DeKalb's way, but Sycamore, for them, it seems like it just kind of sets them on the path, to do what they do.
It's a heck of an intense couple of weeks leading up to that for both of these programs. But then from there, you worry about the hangover. And I always wonder what the week 2 game is like for both of these teams. So it'll be curious to see what happens to them. We have more finals to go through. We need to take a timeout, and we expect to see more recaps come in here as we kind of bounce around a little bit. It's what we do here. It's week 1. We've had some weird things happen. We've had some barn burners, some good finishes. We already had some field storming happening across the state of Illinois. It's a little bit of everything. It's Steve Soucie. It's Matt Rodewald. It's the Friday Night Drive podcast. We'll be right back.
SGKR Injury Attorneys tackles the toughest cases. I'm Matt Rundio. When life throws a flag, we go on offense to protect your rights. Don't get sidelined. Score a touchdown with SGKR. Visit us at sgkr.law.
I'm State Representative Steve Reich. Since 2017, I've led the fight to reform our child welfare system and supported educational choice for every kid in Illinois. I've worked to stop the collapse of our public pensions while standing up for businesses that are being crushed by crippling mandates. And I've never forgotten who pays the bill. The work isn't finished, and as I run for re-election, I'm asking for your support. I'm Steve Reich, and I approve this message.
At Oliver's, we are proud to serve our community. We serve up great customer service, quality products, ease of shopping, and we serve up delicious barbecued sandwiches at our fundraiser cookouts. So stop by Oliver's, 748 North Brenton and Dixon, and help fund our local clubs and events.
Hello, we're back. Keep on going here. I'm wondering if, Soucie, you and I are having good old signal fun here on week number 1 as we get through our first show. You got Bugsy to clean out. It's just, it's how it is. We have to dust off the mothballs after, we put the streams away for about 9 months, right?
Yeah. Yep, indeed.
Hey, as we look through the finals, and hi, I'm Matt. He's Seuss. We talk football. We're going to keep going for another half an hour. He's going to talk until he feels like he's done. I saw Princeton go down tonight to Sterling Newman. Princeton's one of those teams where you expect things, and this is a surprise. But those two, when they get together, it's a good little rivalry. Newman Catholic and Princeton.
Yeah, it has been. It's one of those things where you look at that, and Princeton has kind of held the edge over the last couple of years in this rivalry. But Sterling Newman, a proud program, that probably took that to heart and was after them. Non-relevant aside here, sweet alternate uniforms for Sterling Newman tonight. Nice little silver look going on. Ooh. Yeah, big fan. I saw that.
I've yet to see that.
Yeah, I saw it earlier this evening. I'm like, yeah, I like those. Those are nice. So
somebody show me them on Twitter. Tag me, and I'll take a look at them and give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. I love a good, clean look. If you got uniforms, yeah, and this goes for any coaches that are watching. If you have a uniform theme night, I want to know about it. So if you have like some sort of like, military night or some sort of like Illinois night, I definitely want to see those. So tag me for sure. I'm just flying around here. Is there anything that jumps out at you that's happening right now that we need to discuss? Because I'm just kind of, what I like to do, and you and I have talked about this for years, is just making sure we're kind of dancing the whole state and seeing if there's anything like, obvious that jumps out. I don't see anything big. Princeton was a good example of that. I haven't seen anything huge at the moment.
No, I haven't seen anything that's really like floored me. I have been very interested in the number of games that we've had tonight that have like come down to like the last minute or an overtime game or it seems like we've had a lot of those games this evening. When you look back where we started the evening with Glenbard West and Batavia, you've got the Glenbard South York game, you've got the St. Rita Marist game, you've got the Morris Wilmington game. We're just making a laundry list of these games that came down to the last minute, that's just setting the stage for a heck of a season. I know that this was a very interesting schedule week. There were a lot of these games, but some of these games have kind of come out of the woodwork too. I wasn't really expecting them to come down to the wire like that. So, it's been impressive in that sense that we've had a lot of these games just exciting finishes all around. There have been a lot of them coming from all places this evening, so that's pretty impressive.
I like long road trips and see how the bus ride will go on the way back. Pekin went up to Plainfield South, got a win. That went well. Washington, I think, went to Niles Notre Dame and lost by 1, 13-12. That's a long ride back. Is that the danger with these schedules sometimes? It's just like week 1, here we go on a 4 or 5 hour road trip, or in this case, it's not that far, but that's a long bus ride back. That's not what you want to feel on the way back.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately, that's kind of the way we've gone now with non-conference games. Is you've got to get those games. You've just you've got to make that 2-year deal where, okay, I'll make the trip this year, you make it next. So that's just kind of the way it goes. There are a lot of them that are not, easy on the gas tank, if you will. So yeah, there's definitely some of those floating around.
And I'm sure coaches have this discussion. I would be curious to have coaches tell us how they do this philosophy. But do you want the good team on the road in that 2-game? Or do you want the bad team on the road so you can have the good team make sure they get that home win? I don't know where the advantage lies. If you have a real mature group
I haven't really
talented,
thought of it.
They can handle the road. But they got to figure out which one's first. And then the other aspect is if you have 3 home games, you got to get to 4. But if you have 5 home games and you're like, can we have a 6th? And then, what's going to happen next year? You're going to have 4, maybe 3. So you got to be careful with that to try and keep that balance of a 5 and 4, schedule. The best thing you can do is have that alternate, but it doesn't always work that way. And so the schedulers, and everybody in the Fox Valley Conference is going, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have to deal with any of this stuff. But that's the key. Every athletic director and head coach has to deal with something like this at their point. So I'd just be curious as to what the actual philosophy is for that, for these coaches that make these scheduling decisions. And especially if you're doing it in April, I will tell you, you don't really get a choice. You just kind of, whatever they present to you, you kind of have to take what they give you at that point.
Yep.
All right, we got 2 recaps we want to get to as well. And then maybe you and I can sneak in a word or two about St. Francis and East St. Louis from yesterday, because just to kind of catch up, and maybe what we see tomorrow of note on this Saturday. So let's check in with that St. Charles North Minooka barn burner that went down to the wire. Rob Urserly was there, and Rob's got a recap for us.
What a wild and crazy game here at Minooka. St. Charles North ended up coming back, rallying from halftime deficit, scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion with 55 seconds left to come away with a 36-35 win over Minooka. Things started great for Minooka. They forced a fumble on the opening kickoff, drove it right in to score. On St. Charles North's first offensive play after the next kickoff, there was another fumble. Minooka recovered, drove in and scored. They were 14-0 in about 2 minutes. But St. Charles North did not give up. kept fighting back, and got themselves in position to win. Just a great game overall, and that's it from Minooka.
Yeah, so they continue to rally, and thanks, Rob, for that report. And, to go on the road down there, that's not an easy bus trip either. That's probably an hour, maybe an hour 15 to get down there. And to go down there to get a win to come back is key, because you know that's going to hang over your head if you go into tough conference play and you have Batavia, Geneva, waiting for you. Wheaton South, those are teams that are going to be waiting for you. So to get that win is key. And for St. Charles North, I honestly think I was thinking this coming into the season, but for the Duquesne, I picked St. Charles North to win. I think they're the team to beat in the league right now. I think they just have more balance across the board, and I think they showed tonight that they might be that team.
It's just an interesting situation with that team. So many returning starters for that team. You just kind of look at it on paper, and I just thought heading into the season that you talked about it a little bit there. They need to get these wins because, as we all know, and we experienced this, doing the show last year, every week in the Duquesne, you better bring it. You better strap it up, because there are 5 or 6 teams in that conference that can beat you on any given week if you don't put forth your best foot forward. That's just the reality. It felt like every week last year there were 2 games that were going into overtime in that conference. Or coming down to the wire, last possession of the game, team driving, trying to stop it. It just felt like that was happening every week, and there's so many teams in that conference. And then you looked at St. Charles North schedule coming in, an interesting game with Minooka, playing Homewood Flossmoor next week.
This is a whole new non-conference for them.
Yeah, so it's not like we're going to go in that situation and have, we're just going to skate in there at 2-0. That was not a guarantee. So, that was a huge win. They rallied in that game. That was a game that, early on, Minooka held 2 touchdown leads in that game. And St. Charles North came roaring back in the second half, finished it there with that big 2-point conversion. Guts to make that call, too. That's not something that's real easy to do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, we talked about, as we watched the play, heck of a kick-out block to start the – I should say lead block on that one, not kick-out, because he pinched him in. But that was a heck of a block to spring him for that 2-point conversion. And if you recall, St. Charles North Palatine, week 1 last year, came down to the similar situation. So, a conversion for the win. So, and that was week 1 as well. Last year, St. Charles North had Crete Monee in week 2. This year, they get Homewood Flossmoor. So I think they step up in competition a little bit here. I don't know if it will help them wins-wise, but week 3 is Geneva. And, in their building at St. Charles North, Geneva has to start their first 3 weeks on the road. They go to Oswego next week, then St. Charles North. These guys are scheduling some serious competition. In the meantime, for Batavia, they had a home one tonight with Glenbard West coming to them, but it didn't work out the way that they wanted. Joel Bennett was there. He has a recap for us.
All right, video reviews are back. I just got a Bulldog Stadium in Batavia where they just faced off against Glenbard West in their week 1 matchup, and my goodness, what a matchup it was. The Hilltoppers come out on top 31-28 thanks to a walk-off field goal by Jack Swick, who was playing his first ever football game after spending the past 3 years on the soccer team. But man, what a game it was besides that. The Hilltoppers were led by their defense in this game, funnily enough. 9 sacks in the game, including the last sack, which led to a fumble recovered by Max Hetlett on Batavia's 30-yard line, which eventually led to the game-winning field goal. On top of that, they had a few big plays in this game. They had 4 plays go for over 50 yards. They either led to a touchdown right after or resulted in a touchdown. Jalen McMiller had a 93-yard kickoff return touchdown to lead off the second half, and Jamarcus Kelly took 2 screen passes, not 1, but 2, for over 50 yards. He finished with 136 yards and 2 touchdowns off of 2 catches. crazy stuff. He also had a rushing touchdown as well. He finished with 3 in the game. On the other side, Batavia had some good stuff happen in this game. They tied the game up at 28-28 with 2 minutes left, thanks to a 50-yard rushing touchdown from Preston Brummel, who finished with 97 yards on the day off of 14 carries. Michael Vander Lutgaren, in his first regular season start, he finished with 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. 129 of those yards went to Brett Bergeron. And then, of course, Tony Minich had a pick six, a 36-yard pick six in the second half that kind of jump-started the comeback attempt for the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs will have a chance to get their first win of the season against South Elgin next week. Meanwhile, Glenbard West is going to be facing Joliet Catholic next week to continue their tough non-conference stretch.
Bennett's, by the way, final in Park Ridge, a 40-0 win for Lincoln Way East. For Batavia, they get South Elgin next week, and then an easy start to the conference schedule in comparison. But they have St. Charles North and Geneva in back-to-back weeks, both on the road. So the Batavia team we saw tonight, probably up and down a little bit, based on how week 1 goes for them. I would say that's probably standard, par for the course. I have a feeling you're going to see a real good football team by the time we get to week 5 of the Bulldogs. As for Glenbard West, there's another Hetlet, Max Hetlet. Is that Chad's kid?
Yes, it is.
It's another one coming there. That's a really big win and a really nice win for Glenbard West tonight.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and like we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, it's a really important win because you get into that conference play later in the season. Lions, no joke, beating Joliet Catholic tonight, setting the tone for what followed up last year's 11-win season with them. Downers Grove North might be the favorite. I mean, to be honest with you, with all that they have coming back. I mean, that's another team in that league.
That's
so
week
you look
4.
At that, and even though York lost tonight, they're going to be a factor in that race. So I just mentioned 3 teams right there that are in that conference slate for them. So if Glenbard West, they play Joliet Catholic next week at home, they have a little momentum, wind in their sails, maybe they can go 2-0. And then, like last year, like I said before, they were chasing after their non-conference schedule all year last year. They started 0-2. So, and looked a little overwhelmed in doing it. They did not look overwhelmed tonight. That was a really, really nice job for them. So, while we were listening to those recaps, I was doing a little bit of digging on some Catholic League scores tonight. There was one that I was really interested in. Montini played Lumen Christi out of Michigan. Yeah, that was one that I was really interested in because I wanted a real powerhouse program. I was doing a little research on them heading into the week. Their head coach has been at Lumen Christi for 45 years. All right. He's won 421 games at the high school level. So they've obviously been a really, really good program. So that was what I found this week. Montini picks up a 20-16 win over them. That is huge for Montini. Absolutely massive. Because this was a situation where, once again, it was another scheduling situation. Montini was on the scramble late into almost late summer before they got this game. They didn't really want to play it because obviously you don't relish playing a powerhouse like that in week 1, but they did it, they got the W, and instead of being open and, having that situation where they didn't have a game or an opportunity to get a win, they challenged themselves, got the W, and that sets them up pretty good. But, no rest for the weary because once they get into their Catholic League schedule, I mean, having that win in their pocket is critical. I mean, you really need to have those. These non-conference games are extremely important for schools in the Catholic League because once you get into the league schedule, anything can happen.
I'm going to propose this as we get deep into the night. And I haven't gone through this with you, so I'm going to just spit it out. And I might fumble it a little bit here, but there's this thing called March Madness, and I think you and I should facilitate a March Madness open house for scheduling. We just get all the coaches in a room, one place. We just get one place. If you have a week 1 or week 2 or week 9 bye, okay, we'll fix it for you. Come to us, and we will help you with your scheduling problems. We could do a horrible marketing campaign, like low production. That's what I mean. And we could make it happen so that we can get Montini to not have to go to Michigan. Why don't you stay home and play somebody like, Oak Lawn? Do you need somebody? Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Hey, Wilmington played you a few years ago. Will you do this again? And maybe we give you some extra coverage out of it. I don't know, wink, wink, nod, nod. But no, I hate the frustration that these coaches must be feeling about, well, we got to go to Michigan. We got to go to Ohio. Mount Carmel's case is different, I think. When you go play Moeller, that's a big deal. When you go down to Cincinnati, I don't care who you are. That's an honor. That's a good matchup. And I would like to see them play every year.
Did you see that Mount Carmel is using the throwback uniforms for this game against Moeller for the last time they played Moeller? Yeah, they look pretty good. They look pretty sweet, yeah.
If there's anyone that understands that, Jordan Lynch is going to be that guy that goes, we're going to do a little nod throwback. I would love to see more of that. But that also costs money. And not everybody has that. And schools aren't paying for it. You're not taking tax dollars to do that. It's going to require booster money. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So we love those stories. But, yes, I would love to have a March Madness scheduling open house. We'll just come and hang out for a little while and see what we need. Are there any scores that jump out off the page for you about games that are going on across the state at the moment? I haven't scanned in a little bit, so I'm just kind of picking it back up. Lena wins low over Forreston. How about that? 50-12. That was a big win for them. We expected a win, but maybe not 50-12. Eastland, another win over Fulton as you stay up there in the northwest area. How about Peru St. Bede? Peru St. Bede and LaSalle Peru, were they both at home tonight?
I don't know for sure, to be honest.
I think they were both at home tonight, that's too much football for the LaSalle Peru area. That you can't have that. That's don't make me choose. I need to go to one game and not both of them. Mantino over Sandwich tonight, 54-30. Let's see what else. The Pretzels. I like this win. Freeport beating Boylan tonight, 18-14. How about that in the Nick 10?
Yeah. That's nice. That's a good win. Right now, like I'm looking at that and I'm thinking maybe you got to restack what you're thinking in the Northern Illinois because usually you got Boylan up top near the top of there, so that's an interesting season. Win for Freeport to kick off the top of the season. But I've kind of been digging while we've been talking here and taking these little breaks here. I've been kind of digging into some of the Catholic League scores from tonight, catching up with a few of those.
Because you were doing that, yes.
Yeah, so Niles Notre Dame with a 13-12 win over Washington. It's a good start for them. They're one of multiple coaching staffs that have made a change in the offseason, so that was kind of interesting. A score that kind of threw me a little bit, St. Lawrence 19-0 over King. That was a game that I thought that they would win a little bit easier than that. I didn't see a final, but I did see that IC Catholic was rolling over St. Mary's from St. Louis. That's a good sign for IC Catholic trying to bounce back from an uncharacteristic 3-6 season. Brother Rice rolled to their win over Valparaiso tonight. That's a team that I've got kind of on the back of my radar right now. I don't know if I fully trust them, but I know there's a lot of talent on that team. So I'm interested to see if they can cash in on that talent. Good win we talked about it a little bit earlier, good win for Providence, I thought. Tonight over Wheaton Academy. I know Wheaton Academy lost a lot, but Providence showing some offensive skills. Fenwick rolled to a win over DePaul Prep. They won that one 40-14. And what looks to be, I'm not sure about this. I don't know how it all breaks down. St. Viator picks up a 22-19 game. Looks like they won by a field goal. Why is that appropriate, Matt?
Because their head coach is good as gold, Robbie Gold. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
Yep. I was ready for the test. How about
there
that?
You go. So then, Yorkville getting a 14-7 win over St. Patrick, another one of those teams with a new coaching Zibikowski. So just kind of keeping an eye on all of those tonight, just to kind of see how they sorted out. You mentioned the Moeller Mount Carmel game. That's tomorrow. So you're just kind of looking around, and that's what I've been doing right now is just kind of peeking in on some of these Catholic League games because,
do you remember,
as we've talked about a lot, they're important.
Remember last year we talked about Schaumburg's amazing start, and they had Antioch. Well, not this year. Antioch 34-29 at Schaumburg tonight. How about the East Aurora Tomcats 1-0?
Really?
East tonight. Yes,
okay.
They beat Maine East tonight on the road up there. there in Park Ridge.
There we
my
go.
Up there at Park Ridge. So that's 41-22. Can you tell we're already getting away from this whole thing? Piattone went down to Granite City tonight and got a 48-7 win. We talked about bus rides. That is a lengthy bus ride on the way home there for sure. Belleville West over Muscuda. I was wondering what Muscuda was going to do this year. That's 40-21 at the final there. I'm looking really far downstate now. Breeze Matter Die went down to Columbia, lost 23-22. A tight one. A 1-point win there tonight. That is interesting. Johnston City, you remember them? 4-6-8. Beating White County tonight. Big win on the road at White County. Nashville over Carlisle, 28-21. Richland County, 60 points on Taylorville, 60-36. Roxana over Jersey, 30-18. And let's see, just kind of cruising down the score, especially Southern Illinois. Cesar-Valier went down to Flora, 28-14. Flora a winner there. O'Fallon 24-8 over Triad. And how about Oak Lawn? 52-0 over Wheeling. And Oak Lawn's dealing with all sorts of construction in that building. It's a chaos in that school right now. So it's nice for them to probably get a win because just getting in the facility is a hard thing for them. So good for them. Hey, Romeoville, 20-19 over Stag on the road tonight. Final with that one. And that's really all I have in terms of what's jumping out at me right now. Final thoughts for you and I as we kind of look ahead to not just week 2, but tomorrow, and maybe some games that you're now going, I might want to circle that one going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of interesting finishes that came down to the wire tonight. Getting a little bit more definition about a lot of these programs. Finding out exactly where they're at. Trying to get a handle on some of them. They're just like I'm even looking at the crawl right now. It's like I look at like something like a Lockport Plainfield North game. I didn't really know what to expect from either one of them. Dominating performance from Lockport tonight. So they put that up there and they got that done. So they start out 1-0. Always important for teams like Lockport to get early wins because once they get into that conference schedule, it's an absolute gauntlet for them. So picking up those non-conference wins extremely pivotal for a team like them trying to get themselves into playoffs. So you look at that, you kind of look around, and we talked a lot about Glenbard West and what it meant to them, picking up that win tonight. I don't think we ever officially pointed out a Nazareth final from tonight. That ended up being
we didn't.
That ended up being a 33-12 victory for Nazareth, where they slowly kind of pulled away. Like I said, I think their new transfer quarterback struggled a little bit early, but it seemed like he was getting in a little bit more of a groove after that. After in the second half of that game, made a couple of big throws. Obviously, some huge shoes to fill and Logan Malachuk, but doing what they have to do. It's just for Nazareth, they're another school. Get those wins when you can get them, so they don't have to have that conversation that we had a few years ago. Will they get in? Will they not get in? So that's a good win for them to pick up off the rip. I mean, and then, like I said, there were a couple of other schools that really, in my opinion, made some nice statements. I thought Oswego's win.
That's a really good statement win tonight.
Did some good things there in regards to that. That was one that I thought that kind of really stood out to me in regards to, results that maybe went a different way than I was completely expecting. So, you knew you kind of expected them to win the football game, and you mentioned it before, the dominance that Lincoln Way East showed against a Maine South team that I think almost everyone, and I'm not saying that still can't be.
I'm not saying they aren't. Yeah,
but they were a consensus top 10 team coming into this game tonight, and they just got completely overwhelmed. They got completely overwhelmed in that game. So it's just one of those things. You look at it, and it's definitely Lincoln Way East is going to be really, really good. We know that, but the dominance that they showed tonight was pretty impressive. I haven't seen a final on it yet, but an interesting game that I felt like was being pretty competitive. Homewood Flossmoor kind of fending off Bolingbrook. Last I saw, it was 29-22 in the fourth quarter. So, that's an interesting game. I'm really interested to see what Homewood Flossmoor does this year. Bringing Troy McAllister in, to lead that program. The program he left behind, Sandburg, strong win tonight under new coach Seamus Murphy, 31-9 win over Andrew. So that's a good win for them over a perennial playoff
good
team.
Rivalry,
So
good rivalry game there. Yep.
Start for them.
Let me squeeze in a couple more here, if I could, before I go here. Lincoln Way Central 63-0 over St. Charles East. That's I expected the win, not that score though. And Woodstock North 68-0 over Elmwood Park. You don't see a Woodstock North laying a 68 on anyone. So good for the Thunder for getting that done. And I'm going to leave you with this. You mentioned St. Lawrence and King. How about two public league winners tonight that I didn't see coming? Lane over Shepherd. I'll give them that. 37-19 on the road at Shepherd. And Taft went down to Midlothian, took out Bremen, I should say, 20-0. A shutout win for the Taft Eagles. So how about some public league love tonight? We usually don't give them in a non-conference slate, but that's great to see. It's very nice for the city to have some victories tonight. All right, I'm going to get out of here. How about some highlights as we wrap it up? Soucie, I will see you on Monday as we recap week 1 of the Friday Night Drive podcast.
Touchdown, Detroit Ball. Very nice slaughter.
Let's go, Cole. Come on, Cole. Let's go, Cole. Good move.
You're doing good.
Let's make some noise, Laura fans.
Hi guys, back after that highlight segment. Once again, if you're new here, this is where the portion of the evening where I start chasing down scores for the night that I'm missing. I will just kind of talk stream of consciousness here and talk about the ones that I have not been able to find and kind of talk about the ones that I'm inputting as I put them in. Haven't got an opportunity to put a lot in tonight. There was a lot going on, so we'll have a lot of work that I'm looking for. Those of you that tend to help me out with this, always appreciated in that quest. Just trying to get it all wrapped up. So if you had some thoughts about the games you saw, I'm happy to read those comments and see what's going on. Like I said before, I went out for a quarter tonight of the Kankakee Nazareth game, saw a little bit of that, but it was a slow-moving game, so I had to get back here for the broadcast, so I didn't get to see a lot tonight, but a lot of exciting results. So just kind of moving conference to conference. This is the way that I do it. I've already got all the scores in for the Apollo, but I'm slowly moving myself down the list. Right now, I'm trying to work into the big Northern Conference. I think I've seen most of those finals coming in. But I am looking, and I think I might have even seen this one in the chat earlier. Someone's got an Oregon Genoa Kingston score. I would appreciate it. That is one that I'm missing. So I'm checking around in a couple of places trying to find it. I do not have that Oregon-Genoa Kingston score. I think I'm also missing a North Boone and Winnebago score. So yeah, I'm missing that one as well. So if anybody has insights on a couple of big Northern scores right there that I'm looking for, that would be appreciated. So from time to time, I'll go back to the list of schools that I'm missing. Like I said, the goal is to get all the Friday games. So that will be what we're trying to do here tonight. I will stay for a couple hours. If you have any questions about things this evening, I did see in the chat someone was asking if Bishop McNamara played today. They did not. Unit 1. Thank you, Grant. I appreciate that. 27-20 win for Oregon. I did think I saw that earlier, but I apologize if someone has already posted that. But sometimes it's hard to keep up in the stream of everything that's going on. So now the last one that I'm looking for in that conference is North Boone and Winnebago. So I need that one. So working my way down here, the non-conference weeks always take a little bit longer because I have everything sorted by conference. So you have to go through a lot of different things to get them all in the non-conference season. So here we go. So right now we're at North Boone and Winnebago is the first score that we're missing from tonight. So I'm trying to find that one, track it down. And then I'm moving over to the Big 12, so that is where I'm at. So Bloomington with a 40-7 win over Danville. That's them instead to start the season. So a lot of wild finishes tonight. Crazy week 1. I knew there would be quite a few of those games. I just thought the quality of the games this week, there were a lot of quality matchups. So we just got some really, really interesting ones going that way. So we look at putting in that Peoria final. They beat Champaign Centennial 42-0 tonight. So now we're looking at another Peoria score that I'm trying to track down. Normal West, a 34-14 win over Peoria Notre Dame. So that is done. So that, I think there was an Urbana St. Teresa score. Okay. Yep, I'm looking for a St. Teresa Urbana score. I do not have a final, I have a partial. So, never mind, I just found the St. Teresa Urbana score. So right now, the only score we're missing is North Boone and Winnebago. Trying to find that one, track it now. So, go down here to the Independence. Takes me a while to get down here. All right. So, moved through the Big 12, and now we're moving on to the Black Diamond. So, okay, so Red Hill over Hamilton County, 23-14. Interested to see how Red Hill does as a full-fledged conference member this year, I should say. All right, Flora beats South. Oh, that's an interesting one. Flora with a 28-14 win over Cecil. Okay. All right, so Fairfield wins 38-33. Okay, Christopher, I don't have that one, so I got to look up one more place to look for that one. Okay, so now the list of missing is North Boone and Winnebago, El Dorado, and Christopher. Okay, so next, now we're going to Cahokia. So let's see what we got here. All right, Nashville with a 28-21 win over Carlisle. So now I'm moving down here, just trying to find. It takes me a little bit during the non-conference season because my teams are grouped by conference, so I have to bounce around a little bit here. Marshall wins 36-34 over Westland. So that's going up here for this one. All right, so Chester wins 55-0. Good win for them. All right. I do not have a Dupo Bayless score. So that puts us at 3 games: North Boone, Winnebago, Dupo and Bayless, El Dorado and Christopher. So now moving through this one. Picnic goes 22-6 over Redbud. And Sparta wins 42-38. Max, 48-32. So let's go down here and put those scores in their appropriate places so we don't have to do it later. And 42-48. Okay. So it's an interesting win for Pinckneyville. That's usually a program that struggles to get out of the gate, but we're going to have a Redbud tonight. Redbud's been a playoff team the last couple of years, so that's a good win for them. North Boone over Winnebago. Thank you again, Grant. Appreciate it. All right, so North Boone, 21-18. Okay. Filling in the gaps. Like I said, now we're back down to 2. El Dorado and Christopher, Dupo and Bayless. Are the two games that I'm missing. So that's all done. And now we go to the Mississippi. Conference. Okay. Freeburg 30-14 over DeSoto. Columbia 23-22 over Mater Dei. It's a nice win for Columbia. And then back up there. See what's going on. Centralia wins 42-0 over Salem. And Roxana wins 30-18 over Jerseyville. Okay. So Catholic Blue is all done. Brother Rice winner tonight. Loyola winner tonight. St. Ignatius a loser to St. Louis University. St. Rita beat Marist 28-21. That was a game that came right down to the wire. All right. So then IC Catholic, I'm pretty sure they won. They did win 33-7. So let's move through there. Through the green. St. Francis won Thursday night. Nazareth over Kankakee. Joliet Catholic lost tonight to Lions. So 24-14 was that final. As Notre Dame was a winner tonight. I do remember that. I don't remember the score. But I dig that out. 13-12 for Notre Dame. All right. So once again, the two scores that I'm looking for right now are El Dorado and Christopher, Dupo, and Bayless. Bayless is a Missouri team. Wouldn't shock me to learn that that game is being played tomorrow. So, never did see a Bennett final. Let's see if I can dig that one out now. Okay, I think I'm going to be adding Bennett. Hey, Alex. No, I mean, there were a couple. I mean, especially from the Kankakee area, I was impressed with the Clifton Central's win over Bismarck Henning. That was one that really surprised me. That was good for them. Bradley with a nice win. That's not a bad team, that TF North team. They cruised to that one. Is it purple? Yeah, they did. That was a huge rally for Herscher. Okay, guys, I'm looking for a Bennett Hillcrest score. So I think I have a place where I might be able to find that. So I'm going to go do a little searching here on that one for a minute. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. 18-8 win for Bennett. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, that Kankakee game was pretty sloppy while I was watching it as well. I agree with you, Alex. There's some explosiveness there. I think they just got to figure out how to harness it. I think they'll eventually get it right, but okay. So now I'm looking for De La Salle and Revis from tonight. That's another one I'm looking for. Okay, so then next up, that's a Saturday game, so I don't need that one. Travis with a 42-0 win over De La Salle. Okay, Carmel was winning big. Yeah, I haven't really done a lot of looking into Dixon. I got to take your word for it so far. I know, granted, it was Rock Falls, a team that struggles. Byron looked awfully dominant last night in the few clips that I saw. You got to lean towards Byron. Byron's the team until they prove they're not the team. But once again, I'm looking forward to that game. I'm disappointed that it's this early in the year, though. I don't understand this. We have a lot of these games that are going on early in the year that are, conference shifting games, man. We have, I was talking about Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge earlier tonight too. So there's a lot of these games that are going really fast early in the year. That you like to get a little build up for, but you're not getting it anymore. It's just going to town on those games. So, yep. So. Should be a good one. I know it was a good one last year. So, looking forward to seeing that sort out. All right, so moving along here. Once again, the two games I'm looking for, El Dorado and Christopher in Southern Illinois, Dupo and Bayless, Missouri, are the games that I'm missing right now. So, just kind of moving right along here. This takes, like I said before, this takes a little bit longer when we're dealing with a whole pack of non-conference games. Oof. Sacred Heart Griffin taking one on the chin tonight against Christian Brothers. 63-20 loss. NC Notre Dame with a big win. I'm not sure how good that team is that they were playing was tonight, but a good sign for the Raiders. Okay. So now, I think I'm looking for a Highland Jacksonville score. That game is on Saturday. So I'm not looking for a Highland Jacksonville score. Because it has not been played yet. Thank you. There's about 70 of those locked conferences, Paul. There's only about 4 of them now. Sangamo, Fox Valley, Northern Illinois 10, South Central. Those are the only 4 that I can think of off the top of my head. Okay. This Peoria one's 47-13. All right. Okie dokie. So let's go back over here. West. Next one's 34-16. Park. 21-16 with 11. So Laurel was a winner tonight. I do know that. 41-22. Livingston wins 49-6. Nice opener for Miles Osei, the former Kankakee coach. There's Western Riverside Brookfield. Let's see if we can find that one real quick. Oh, wow. Moment's lost in double overtime. I just saw that for the first time. Yeah, I saw that score last night, Dante. I was watching a little bit of the Twitter highlights. Seemed like they were scoring every 2 minutes. Okay, Glenbard North beats Lakes 21-13. South loses 40-0. New Trier wins 20-14 over Naperville North. Okay. Well, Christian wins 43-22. All right. Once again, repeating for the record, the 2 scores I'm missing right now, El Dorado and Christopher, Dupo and Bayless. So let's see what happened with Aurora Central Catholic beats Elgin St. Edward's 36-0. They didn't lose many of them. I know they have quite a few of the good ones back. So, yeah, that's a really good football team. Should be fun watching them this year. Seneca beat Chicago Christian 46. 49-13, Richmond Burton. Okay, just moving along right here. About 20% done with the score collection for the night. Just moved past the 100 team marks, so not too bad. Moving along pretty good. Bede wins 47-6. Central wins 47-6. Double score. Okay, so now we're moving into the public league. This is where sometimes the scores get a little bit tricky. Find a couple sources that I look around for on this, but never easy. All right, so just found a game that Mather and Lincoln Park is the next one on my list. So right now we're at 3 games. El Dorado, Christopher, Dupo and Bayless, Mather and Lincoln Park. So then these are all Saturday games. Thanks, Weather. Appreciate it, buddy. Let's see. On the Schurz Ridgewood game, 7-0. That's a Saturday game. That's a Friday game. I know North was beating Simeon earlier, but I never saw a final. So let's track that one down. 34-20 is your winner there. And in Lincoln Park, I did not have. I know Taft beat Bremen, but I did not see the score. $20-0 for Taft. That's a good win. Okay. All right. Doing pretty good for 11:30 here. Okay, and another one to the list, Clark and South Shore. I do not have that one. And I lost my pen, so hold on a second. Okie doke. So, Moving along here, and there've been more public league scores trying to track down, always the tricky ones. Lane, 37-19 over Shepherd. Nice win for them. I just saw that score for the first time. Libertyville, 24-14 over Lamont. That's a good win for them. Okay. So now I'm looking for Corliss and Peyton added to the list. So now the list is starting to grow. Alvarado, Christopher, Dupo Bayless, Mather, Lincoln Park, Clark, South Shore, Corliss, and Peyton. So Westinghouse over Marshall, 40-18. Okay. All right, so now we're moving into the bottom half. Okay, and we're going to put that here. Solorio and Chicago Academy. So moving along here. Okay, so getting hung up a little bit on the public league scores. That's not a big surprise. That's usually what happens. Okay. But we're almost through the public league, and then we should pick back up again. Okay. Vocational. Yep, there's another one. All right, so missing a ton of Chicago Public League scores at this point. Mather, Lincoln Park, Clark, South Shore, Corliss, Peyton, Solorio, Chicago Academy, Hubbard and Bogan, Vocational, and Back of the Yards, along with El Dorado and Christopher. Thank you. Peyton Corliss, good job. You the man. Okay. So we've got a good chunk of public league scores that we're still missing, but that's not a huge concern. We'll catch up with some of those later. All right, so I know I saw an Order Westmont score. That's the last public league score that I need. Orr wins 26-14 in that one. 14. Toby loses 28-31. Okay, Glenbard North and Bartlett. All right. 38-3 for them. Geneva won 56-0. 35-13 over opponent. Lost 63-0 to Newton North. Beat Simeon 34-20. Warrenville South wins 57-0. Now we're into Fox Valley, so moving along pretty good here. 7 scores on the board that I don't have right now, which is pretty good for this early. It's the public league. Shows that you call the vocational game at a 6-6 tie. Yeah, I don't see how that's possible either. You can't technically have a tied game. Henry beats Dundee Crown 17-14. Okay, Burlington Central 21-0 over Crystal Lake South. Okay. All right, on to the heart of Illinois. Eureka beats Clinton 42-6. Triumph Valley rolls 52-12 tonight. Okay. Eureka. All right. Some public league scores: Mather, Lincoln Park; Clark, South Shore; Solorio, Chicago Academy; Hubbard, Bogan; Vocational, and Back of the Yards. Those are the 5 public league scores. Deer Creek Mackinac beats Eureka 38-8. Okay, so moving, like I said, moving through the heart of Illinois here. Takes a little while to figure these out. I'm also getting used to the new IHSA site, which I kind of like, but some elements of it are a little bit more time-consuming than they used to be. Shelbyville loses to Tuscola. 16-14. Win for Tuscola. And then Gibson City wins 38-13 over Tremont. Okay. Doing good. Not even midnight yet. We're 40% done, so I'll take it. Oh, Ridgeview over Leroy. That's an interesting score. Okay. And then I know that Hayworth won, but I cannot remember the score. 24-0. So. Okay, on to the Illini Prairie. Seven scores missing right now. 5 from the Public League: Mather, Lincoln Park, Clark, South Shore, Soloria, Chicago Academy, Hubbard, Bogan, Vocational, Back of the Yards, Dupo and Bayless, Eldorado, and Christopher. Unionton Central Catholic with a 21-14 win over Paxton. I know that Coal City beat Pontiac tonight, but I don't remember the score. Coal City wins 40-13. Okay, Toronto, 48-0 over Rams. Okay. Moving along. St. Joe Ogden, comfortable win over Prairie Central tonight. Good start for the Spartans. Okay. And with Monticello's 21-6 win, we can leave the Illini Prairie. All right. Nice win for Mantino, hanging 54 points on Sandwich tonight. Good start for them. Piatone won comfortably against Granite City. I do remember seeing that, 48-7. Okay. Streeter, 36-14. Okay, so Illinois Central A teams go 6-2 collectively, and one of the losses was Wilmington. So good night in general for the Illinois Central A. So I think I saw that score of the independent class. Okay. Still kind of looking around here for a couple things that I know I saw. Okay, that one is not final, so I need an Alton Marquette score against Duchesne, or I don't know how that's pronounced. It's a Missouri school. Duchesne. Okay, I know the Aurora Central Catholic was a winner tonight, 36-0. So 14. Waltoff wins 34-13. Collinsville. Okay. So Collinsville. Collinsville loses 6-40. All right. Anybody seen a Rock Island Alaman score from this evening? $62-13 for Rock Island Alaman in their return to varsity football, so that's nice. Good for them. Okay. So now we're out of the independent schools and into the Interstate 8. So the LaSalle Peru game was on Saturday? I swore I saw a score in it tonight. I'll take their word for it. But all right, so now where I'm at is I've got 8 games that I'm missing. Most of them are from the Chicago Public League, which is normal. They are the hardest ones to find. Okay, I'm looking for a LaSalle Peru East Moline game. IHSA says that game was played on Saturday. I don't think it was. I could have swore I saw updates from that earlier tonight. So LaSalle Peru East Moline is one that I believe that I'm looking for. Kingman beats Rock Island 44-7. Ottawa handles Plano, I believe. They were winning big early. 35-6. Shell, Geneseo, 41-14. Sycamore squeaks by DeKalb, 22-21. Okay. Now we're on to the Kishwaukee. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I think it's possible, Brian. I'm telling you, on video, I mean, I wasn't there personally, but that Glenbard West team looked fast. It could potentially be a problem for the Hilltoppers next week. tough place to play on the road too. So I'm looking forward to going and seeing that game next weekend. That should be good. It's an interesting question, though. It's probably a luxury that they can't afford with the remaining parts of their schedule. Richmond Burton 49-13. And then Woodstock North one big. Okay. 66 over North Lawndale. They won 68-0 over Elmwood Park. Okay, on to the Lincoln Prairie. All right. I'm hoping to find a stream of Mount Carmel and Moeller, Ohio. That's one that I'm definitely interested in seeing. Downers Grove North and Morgan Park is another interesting game for tomorrow. Let's see how that comes out. Okay, thank you, Weather. That makes more sense because I did see that it was 1 o'clock on Saturday, but I also saw a video clip of someone from LaSalle Peru scoring a touchdown tonight, so I was a little confused. Thank you for digging that out for me, sir. Okay, so Magenta. Let's go back to so Arthur beat Cinnamon Valley 43-13. Little Grove and Cumberland. Cumberland wins 41-0. Okay, so moving on to the Lincoln Prairie Land. Illinois West wins 68-6. Elmwood Knoxville 36-22. Okay. Farmington won big, I do remember seeing that. 51-28. Let's move along here, guys. Not finding a lot that I'm missing right now, which is a good sign, but like I said, the non-conference season, it just takes me a little bit longer to track everybody down. So, all right. So a little over halfway home. Stark County wins 41-18. And then Princeville. Okay, so it looks like I'm missing a Princeville Havana score. Nope, just found it. I am not missing a Princeville Havana score. Yeah, the playoff projection should be fascinating this week. I'm really looking forward to digging into that and seeing where some of these numbers fall. I think it's going to be absolutely crazy. Okay. Global wins 2012. Okay. So moving on to the little Illini. I think they got a fair amount of those already in. Thanks, Victor. That seems to be the consensus, is that we had a weather postponement. So that makes sense. Wow. Mount Carmel getting beat pretty soundly by DuQuoin tonight. Interesting. Okay. All right. So then we're going to go here. One more place. Okay, adding another one to the list, Newton and Civic Memorial. So non-public league games that I'm missing, Eldorado and Christopher, Dupo and Bayless, Alton Marquette and Duchesne, Newton and Civic Memorial. I'm also missing Paris and North Vermilion, Indiana. So the list is growing, but that's to be expected in week one. Illini conference now. Peoria wins 47-15. And then I did not see a Metamora Sterling score. Wow. So Metamora, a nice solid win over Sterling, 43-14 to start the season. And then Pekin with a 28-7 win over Plainfield South. So that gets me through that conference. And now I'm in the mid-suburban East. So we're doing really well. And a lot of these put in. Thank you, Weather. Appreciate it. Newton wins 35-21 over Civic Memorial. This is a 57-0 win. Okay. So those are scratched off. Now I'm at the Mid-Suburban East. And start to see the forest for the trees here, guys. Alright, so back to this source. Warren wins 43-36 over Hersey. That was a good game. I'll just keep an eye on that one. Aaron Stewart, standout running back for Warren. Interested to see what he did when I get a chance to dig a little bit more into some of these games. Right now, just completely consumed with trying to get scores. Hoffman States wins 55-14. States 55-14. All right. Oh, really? 1634. Prospect. W18 over Stevenson. Okay. Right, next up is Palatine. Let's go to this site, see if I can find it there. Okay, so looks like I'm looking for a Palatine Rolling Meadows score. Oakland wins 52-0 over Wheeling. Barrington 48-20 over South Elgin. Okay, so now we're in the Mid-Suburban West. Lake Park beats Conant 13-35. Palatine Rolling Meadows, I never found the score. Find 35-3 over Lake Zurich. Good stuff there. Okay. Indianapolis was, I believe, all over Schaumburg tonight. Oh, that was close. Illinois did win. 44-29. Okay, on to the Mississippi now. in Jacksonville, it's a Saturday game. Jersey and Roxana. That's like 18:30. Okay. So moving in on 60% done. Still a healthy list of games outside of the public league I'm missing. Eldorado, Christopher, Dupo, Bayless, Alton Marquette, Duchesne, and Palatine, Rolling Meadows. Officially at 60% done with the project for tonight. And the clock looks like a reasonable goal for getting things tracked. Okay, I'm missing a Mount Vernon Waterloo score. Alright, so now we're into the North Suburban. Force wins 30-0. Libertyville wins 24-14. Okay. 13-42 loss. Mundelein. Wow, Plainfield Central, 21-18 win over Waukegan tonight. Plainfield Central was 0-9 last year, so good job for them. All right, adding another one to the list, North Chicago and Zion Benton. Thank you for the Waterloo score, weather. Waterloo. 17. Okay. Now we're hitting the Northern Illinois. Wins 30-3 over Belvedere. – Calgary North wins 21-13 over Guilford. Auburn and Hanamiga tomorrow. It is Auburn and Hanamiga. It's a Saturday game now. Down in the northern Lake County. It's moving along rather well here. I can see the S conferences on the horizon. That means we're getting closer. Two loss. They lost. Arizona Central did lose. I do know that. $13.52. About 85 games unaccounted for right now. It's a good number. Lakes. I do remember reading that at some point, Letty. Forgot about that. $13.21. Okay. Chicago I don't have. Chicago wins 40-6. Okay. Into Honda wins 44-26. All right. So then got all the Northwest up to the line and scores earlier. So now on to the Sangamo. Williamsville 42-7 over Auburn. Lowell wins 48-7. Plains wins 26-20. Riverton 29-20 over Pittsfield. And then Olympia. Okay. Number 3 to Sangamo. Okay, on to the Southern Illinois River to River. Pittsburgh wins 31-13. Beats him 69-0. Okay. And it's 48-19. Cromwell. Massa County. 28-15. Rodewald. Carterville beats Marion 35-34. Nice win for them. Thank you, Will. Or sorry, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Okay. Moving along here, we've got Carbondale over Murfreesboro, 13. And then 13. So now we're into the South Central Conference. And Williams 51-33. Richfield. Seven over there. Okay, moving along pretty good here. Stanton's 20. So 20, 28. And then into the South 7 now. I think I'm going to be adding another one here in a minute. Just checking a couple more places before I fully give up. Nope, I found it. Cahokia 38-7. And Centralia was a winner tonight. 32-0. And then that running lost 17-34. Okay, on to the South Suburban now. Coast lost. Lansing, 32-12. Loss, 14. Okay, Brennan lost 20-0. I know that Oak Forest won. Can't remember the score. What happened, Trevor? You guys light a fire under them at halftime or something? Yeah. Nothing for Levis. So there we go there. Okay. So about 50 more games to go. That sounds like a doozy. Richards over Creekmoney 51-41. They lost 18-87. All right, now we're moving to the Southland Conference. 48-0 for Bloom tonight. Okay, Southland Conference. I'll take a high-scoring track meet, to be honest with you. I like it. All right, missing another one here. Berwyn, Cicero, Morton, and Thornton. So outside of the public league, the scores that I'm missing are North Chicago and Zion Benton, Berwyn, Cicero, Morton, and Thornton, Eldorado and Christopher, Dupo, and Bayless. That's that. All right, adding another one, Oak Park, River Forest, and Rich Township. Yeah, Wilmington did lose. They lost. Morris scored with 17 seconds left in the game. Wilmington had scored with 4 minutes left in the game to take a 20-19 lead. And then Morris went the length of the field on their last drive and scored with under 20 seconds to play. Thornwood, excuse me. 35 to 30. Okay. So moving on down here, we are under 50 games searched for. Thank you, Weather. 28-6. So we're at about 40 games right now that are missing on the board. Okay. East Downers go south, 35-19. That's an interesting result. East wins 40-0. Homewood Flossmoor beats Bowling Brook 44 to 30. It's interesting that score. All right. And then go all the way down here to Neuqua. Neuqua Valley beats Waubonsee Valley 21 to 13. All right. 14, 20. Andrew, 31 to 9. Cowboys, Central Mississippi, nothing. Thank you, Weather. And that one. Stag and Romeo. About 35 games we're chasing now. And you'll go with a 20 to 19 win over Stag. Okay, so now we're in the Southwestern Conference. Very few conferences to go here. So Moses 13 to 34. Collinsville, Belleville East. And 46. One. Oh, I think Morris is very good this year. They have a lot returning. And it looks like Wilmington was right there with them, punch for punch. All right, moving into Southwest Prairie now. About 30 games left to find. Yep, Brady Varner is correct. Regular since he was a sophomore. Sounded like they played really well defensively, Wilmington did. Central 21-18. South. 7-28. East 141 nothing. Seven. All right. About 7 more conferences to go. For 12:30, I'm pretty happy with that. Saturday now. Okay, on to the 3 rivers. I don't know a lot, Trevor. I know they lost quite a bit from last year's team, which was pretty solid. Yeah, I don't know a ton. I know they had a young quarterback that played a little bit last year. That was back for them. A couple of kids in the wide receiver core returners. Some 3 Rivers Conference scores here. All right, so I'm going to Spring Valley Hall. All right, looking for a Spring Valley Hall score from tonight. Orion. Okay. Definitely see the back end here. North one. Oh, but leads us to Glenbard East. Oh wow, okay. Alright, so now we're moving through the Upstate 8 Conference. Ridgewood. Riverside. Field wins 35-27. West Chicago. 40-6. Orleans. 41-22. Bartlett. 38-3. Lost by a bunch. 6. Okay. Elgin loses 20-48. Senior loses 15-41. Okay, on to the Vermilion Valley now. Well, we're getting close when I can see the Western Big Six pop up on the screen. Nice win for Clifton Central. We were talking about that before. Another Bismarck Henning. Iroquois West gets on the board with a win. First win for them in 2 years. Sequel loses to Georgetown Wood Farm. Oakwood with a double overtime win over the Mets. And West Grand set 54-13. All right, on to the Western Suburban. $13.31. Okay. Number one's 44.6. That's a Saturday game. That's a Saturday game. Okay. There's going to be another one added to the list here in a minute. Proviso West and Christ the King. All right. Lions wins 24-14 over the Catholic. Six for them. East Marine goes to Saturday because I'm now in the Western Big Six. $41-14 for them. Okay. On the Western Big Six, so we've got just the Western Big Six and the Western Illinois Valley left on the list. Well, I know I saw that Moline score somewhere tonight. Moline and Rockwood Summit. $30-24 win for Summit. Island loses 7-44 to Keeneland. Allen won big. 62-13. Still in the loss. $13.43. Okay. Now we are on to the final conference, the Western Illinois Valley. Town over North Green, 41-6. 5 more games left. Brown County wins 28-7 over Carrollton. Out plays on Saturday, so there's 3 more games left. Hardin Calhoun 42-0 over Tri-Oakland. Okay. Hill loses 28-22. 28-22. And then Point Central. That's my last one. They're looking for a Camp Point Central, West Central score. I wish I had more baseballs, but there are definitely more magnets. Thank you much. Okay. So, I have inputted everything in that I know. And that means that I have 16 teams with Friday tags, and I don't know what happened. That doesn't seem right. Should be. How many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's weird. Oh, okay, I know why that's like that. Okay. Yeah, 15 teams that I need to get final scores on from tonight. I'm going to do some digging around in some back channels and see if I can find them. But I think I'm going to shut her down for the night. Thanks for hanging around. Make sure you go to Friday Night Drive, see all the coverage from the games tonight. That's something I'm planning on doing as long as I can stay up. So I appreciate you guys all joining me and helping me out on tracking scores. We'll have more information. We'll do this longer next week. We'll actually have a little bit more data and a little bit more stuff to play around with. So, all righty, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.